What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. And you can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. Messed up and out of touch, let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that so maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. An interesting day today, to say the least. I woke up, as many people did, with notifications or however it is you first find out about your news. Before I get out of bed, I've already got at least some of the news in my head because I get it on my phone. I do wear my smartwatch to bed because before I fall asleep, if I get a notification, my watch will vibrate. I will take a peek. And then first thing when I get up, I look at the watch. And so this morning, of course, I had notifications about the ship that hit the bridge in Baltimore. Now, the more I find out about that particular bridge and the more I find out about that particular port, the more I have questions. There is a lot of interesting details, to say the least, involving both the port and the bridge. One of them, the big takeaways is that was the hazmat route. So now anything hazmat, they're going to have to reroute somewhere closer to Baltimore itself. So that's one thing, and that could or could not be anything major. I mean, any and all of it I could be looking too far into. However, the port to Baltimore was one of the more important ports on the East Coast. And there's already been individuals, involved in the shipping industry that's come out and said that the combination of this and the combination of, the Black Sea? Is that what it is? Whatever sea it is that the ships aren't going through right now because of the Houthis, that's going to cause significant delays, and all the way across the board. Not only do the ships that are either already right there or on their way there are now going to have to reroute and go somewhere else, but that's also going to put a heavier load on those other ports, so it's going to take an increased amount of time to process those goods as well. So all of that adds up to more and more issues. And, I don't know much about it. I did try to look up a little bit of information to see if I could find out if there was any kind of Navy ports or if there was any ships, military ships of significance that would be in that port. I never did find an answer for that. But I look at all of this, and it makes me wonder, is this just a lead up to something else? Is this just a lead up to the next thing? Because I have a really hard problem believing that this is just happenstance. There are other things that have been pointed out by other individuals, including what I can't argue appears to be thermite that was set off at some particular points in the bridge. It's hard to argue that. It really is, because, I do know a fair amount about metal. I love metal. I love working with metal. And I'm having a hard problem believing that the metal created sparks quite like that as it was being ripped away or grinded up against other metal. I've been around for a day or two, and I don't think I've ever seen sparks look like that from metal hitting metal. Very interesting. Very interesting. And the way that those sparks fell and everything else just really speaks of thermite. So if you haven't thought about that part of it when you watch the video, watch it again. And look at, especially and I don't know if they're called trusses or what, but the upper rails, you're going to see some interesting sparks come from them. Now, at the different points that I was watching when the bridge fell and I noticed those sparks, those particular areas were areas that were being pulled apart, which is a totally different argument even then. As far as the amount of sparks, the way the sparks fell. You just got to look at it. It just looks suspicious as hell. I don't know. If I were to put my bet anywhere, it would be on that the boat was hacked. And that's why they lost control of the boat. I don't buy for a second that it was anything in regards to faulty equipment or anything of the sort. And the more I find out about how those ships operate and how basically it's a computer that's essentially driving the ship, it leads me more to believe that it would have been a hack. I initially had wondered, and I had asked the question, does the system, does the controls communicate to, say, the engine room or what have you, wirelessly, or is it wired? Because if it's wired, I would have said, okay, keep an eye out for people jumping off that ship. But apparently, it's a computer that largely controls the ship, and that there's a chance that there may not have even been anybody literally at the helm when things started to go awry. There again, from my understanding, they were having propulsion issues like 10 minutes before the incident. So apparently there was more than one call. One call, not the Mayday call, but there was a call prior to the Mayday call in which they were having propulsion issues, and so that was reported. To whom, I don't know, but that was something that was reported. And then, of course, right before it happened, there was a Mayday call put out. Law enforcement, within 2 minutes, they had traffic stopped. Now, does that sound to you like a normal response time for law enforcement, and especially in a big city? There's a lot of things surrounding this that I do have to question. I'm going to be watching because, of course, I've got a ton of questions that probably won't even be answered for a little while, and then when those answers come, how reliant can we be on them? However, I'm going to try to hold off a little bit, wait until those answers, or at least some of them, are provided, and then try to take another look at the situation. But I'm telling you, this just doesn't seem like an accident to me. There's a whole lot of stuff that I really question on it. So keep an eye out for what happens. Especially considering everything else that's going on in the world right now. It wouldn't surprise me. But then again, if my suspicions are correct about thermite and whatnot, then we got to ask a whole nother series of questions. And I firmly believe if that's the case, if there was that much put into this, and I'm not saying there was, but if there was, then I think that this is just a lead up. And that the bigger event is yet to come. And it's going to be something that's going to involve or require the closing of that port prior in order to have the full effect, if you follow what I'm saying. Wouldn't it be hell right now if there was some type of real big emergency in Baltimore? Real big emergency. Think about this. Okay, let's say that there aren't any military ships or anything like that in Baltimore right now. Well, there aren't any ships that can get in to Baltimore Port right now. So if there was some type of an attack or something like that in Baltimore, it would be that much harder for the military to be able to get involved. I mean, of course, there's many other ways. There's roads, there's air. But sea is one way that I'm sure that their emergency plans had included. And now they can check that off the list for however long that may be. So, I don't know. Just watch what happens. I don't buy what we're being told at this point. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I call out a lot of conspiracy stuff as being BS. We need to watch this. We need to watch this one. Anyway, in other news, coffee. So, I just picked what seemed to be the funniest headline, funniest story or whatever, with all the stuff going on. What do I got? 8 tabs open, one of them being about the bridge. So I reckon we can get on to that. By the way, I didn't get my fire video made today, but they did. My e-cig was tasting a little bit nasty, and it usually does by the time I'm about done with the flavor, because I do 60 milliliters in between changing the wicks out and stuff, and that's quite a bit, to be honest. And so it was starting to taste a little nasty, a little burnt. So I went ahead and I swapped out the wick, and I did use just regular cotton balls, just 100% cotton balls. And, to be honest, after I've got them kind of burnt in, if you will, a little bit, tastes fine. Tastes fine. It's not quite as good as the nice, more expensive cotton that I use and all of that. I don't want to call it cotton bacon because it's not cotton bacon, but it's sheets. It's these sheets of cotton that I use. Not quite as good as that. I didn't expect it to be, but it's definitely doable. I mean, definitely doable. And I could probably get, 3 to 4 wicks easy out of one single cotton ball. And probably more than that, to be honest. But, yeah, that'll work. I just wanted to test it to make sure, because I know back in the day, we were searching high and low for the best cotton in order to get the best flavor out of it. And regular cotton balls was just not something that we tried or used or anything like that. We were all going for, all this expensive Japanese cotton and all this stuff. Yeah, regular cotton balls not too bad. Doable, especially in the apocalypse. So, do a little bit of news. This guy. Now, I don't expect he's going to go anywhere or get anywhere, and I don't even know that he'll make much of a point, but, why not? Reminds me of the whole none of the above thing with Brewster's Millions. I think that was Brewster's Millions. Anyway, literally anybody else announces U.S. presidential campaign. Says here Texas voters could get the chance to cast their ballots for a man named literally anybody else this November if his long-shot scheme to protest the U.S. two-party system is successful. Math teacher and military veteran Dustin Eby formally changed his name to literally anybody else earlier this month and is now scrambling to gather the 113,151 signatures required to appear on the Texas ballots as an independent candidate, WFAA News reported on Friday. I'm not delusional, Else told the outlet. This will be very hard to do, but it's not impossible. My hopes is to have Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and then literally anybody else right underneath, he continued, explaining that I really want I really want there to be an outlet for folks like me who are just so fed up with this constant power grab between two parties that has no benefit for the common person. Amen, brother. This isn't about me, more so as it is an idea, Else told WFAA. We can do better out of 300 million people for president. I agree. Else is far from the only American dismayed at a Trump-Biden rematch. A News Nation poll conducted in January found that 59% of registered voters were not too enthusiastic or not at all enthusiastic about seeing the pair compete for the presidency again. However, despite majorities in both parties calling for fresh faces, Trump easily defeated all of his Republican rivals during the last 3 months' primaries, while Biden faced no competition from any high-profile Democrats. Else faces an uphill struggle to even enter the race. First, he has until May 13 to collect 113,151 signatures from registered voters who did not vote in either the Republican or Democratic primaries in Texas. Having achieved this, he must replicate the feat in every other U.S. state and territory, all of which have similar rules for independent candidates. Failing this, he could register as a write-in candidate. However, he would then have to build up a national profile and convince voters to actually write in literally anybody else on Election Day. No write-in candidate has ever come close to being elected president of the U.S., although 2 U.S. senators have won office this way since the 1950s. Voters often write in undeclared candidates such as means of prank or protest, with Mickey Mouse or Jesus Christ and Batman all picking up a handful of votes in 2020. I don't know, man. I get his point. Unfortunately, most people won't. Just the way it is. And I don't get it, because we've had good candidates. It's unreal. I think in 2016, if I could have picked one, it would have been Ben Carson. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. More coffee, because it's good. Coffee's always good to me. That is up until that the cup is empty, and then it hates me. U.S. bridge collapses after being hit by ship. A 4-lane bridge in the U.S. state of Maryland has collapsed after being hit by a ship. A large section of the 1.6-mile-long Francis Scott Key Bridge fell into Patapsco River, and I'm probably saying that wrong. State authorities have confirmed. The incident happened around 1:30 a.m. according to the AP. Clips posted on X show several sections of the bridge going down, with multiple vehicles cascading some 55 meters into the water. Multiple people were on the bridge when it collapsed, the chief of Baltimore City Fire Department, James Wallace, said during a press conference. 2 people have been rescued from the water so far. One of them refused medical care while the other is in very serious condition, Wallace said. The search continues for upwards of 7 people, he added. During the same press conference, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott described the collapse as an unthinkable tragedy. The efforts of the authorities are now focused on folks who have to try and find and save, he stated. Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley said that the collapse is being treated as an accident, stressing that there is absolutely no indication it was intentional. The Maryland Transportation Authority said that all lanes in both directions were closed and traffic is being detoured. You think? Baltimore City Fire Department spokesman Kevin Cartwright confirmed earlier that the bridge had been struck by a very large vessel and partially collapsed. That's just partially. I'm sure it'll buff right out. In a separate comment to AP, Cartwright described the situation as developing mass casualty event. He went on to say it appears that there are some cargo or retainers hanging from the bridge, which complicates the work of the rescuers, making them operate more cautiously. This is a dire emergency, he added. The vessel that caused the collapse was a Singapore-flagged container ship Dali. Its management company, Synergy Marine Group, confirmed. The cause of the incident is yet to be determined, the company said, adding that the ship was under the control of 2 pilots when it hit one of the pillars of the bridge. There were no injuries aboard the Dali, with all crew member accounted for, it added. Shipping giant Maersk, which chartered the Dali, said that it was horrified by the incident in Baltimore. Our thoughts are with all of those affected, the Danish company stressed. Maryland Governor Wes Moore has declared a state of emergency following the collapse of the bridge. We're working with an interagency team to quickly deploy federal resources from the Biden administration for the rescue effort, a statement by Moore read. And I don't get that. Really? For the rescue effort? So you've got a very limited time frame for any kind of a rescue before it turns into recovery. And exactly why would you need tons of federal resources for that? Do they got to pay for it up front? I mean, I know that we give Ukraine money up front. I know that we give illegal aliens money up front. But, So I don't know. This is just, I have questions. I do truly have questions. I don't know if this is going to show, this is probably going to show what I was talking about earlier. Maybe not. Yeah, you can see it a little bit, but it's kind of crappy video. Right in here, you're going to see that doesn't look. Let me start that over. Right here. That does not just look like metal that scrapes up against metal. It just does not. It just does not. I've seen metal scraping up against metal a few times in my life. And when it comes to metal like that, butted up against another piece of metal, just like 2 plates up against one another, coming apart, stuff like that, no, not like that. Not like that. You're talking to somebody that used to, drive his car even when the brake pads were completely gone and I was grinding steel on the rotors. I've seen a little bit of steel grind in my time. Assange wins right to appeal extradition to the U.S. So at least this is one good note about this whole situation. The British High Court ruled on Tuesday that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange can mount a final UK challenge against extradition to the U.S. to face trial for publishing secret diplomatic and military files. The publisher stands accused of espionage and is facing up to 175 years in jail. The hearing at the High Court could have been the last opportunity for Assange's defense team to seek recourse within the British legal system if the judges had decided against his bid. His attorneys have argued that the American case against him is political in nature, retaliation for his exposure of alleged war crimes in Afghanistan and Iraq, and that extraditing him to the U.S. would put his life and well-being at risk. 2 British judges reviewing the situation decided that there was an arguable case against extradition and ruled that he should be granted a full appeal hearing again. Assange has been held in the top security Belmarsh prison since 2019, when Guido revoked his political asylum and allowed British police to arrest him at the Embassy of Ecuador in London. At the time, he was jumping bail in a separate extradition request, which the Australian citizen claimed to be a ploy by the U.S. To get him to Swedish jurisdiction, where he claimed an attempt to extradite him to the U.S. would have been easiest. A U.S. court indicted Assange under the Espionage Act of 2017, a month after his arrest in the UK. Man, I don't know. This is nuts. And a little bit earlier, I watched a was it Tucker Carlson? I think it was Tucker. Talking to a guy that the FBI came full-blown battle rattle and arrested him because he prayed at an abortion clinic. This stuff is ridiculous. And there really, truly is only one way it's going to stop. And I'm just going to put it like that. There is only one way this stuff is going to stop. Okay, I'll add to it a little bit. The only way that this kind of stuff is going to stop is if there is immediate consequences to trying to pull this crap. You have to put them in a situation that it's not any longer worth it, that they're no longer safe for doing this nonsense. I'll just say it just like that, and you can take it for what it's worth. It's the only way this is going to stop. There has to be consequences, and it's got to be immediate consequences. It can't be, well, take them to court, because that's a game that they want to play with you. It's a damn game. Stop playing the game, and they'll stop being fools. Because that's what they're being. They're being fools and tools. The American people need to stand up for one another. And we need to put a stop to this. And yeah, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get damn ugly. There has never been a case in history where mankind just willingly gives up control and power. It doesn't happen that way. It's got to be taken back every single time in history. Now we can keep playing games and beating around the bush and talking all niceties and all that stuff, making sure we get the pronouns right. Or we can kick some ass and put an end to it. That's the options. That's the options. Howdy, Friday. U.S., UK, and Ukraine could be behind Moscow terror attack, says FSB chief. The U.S., UK, and Ukraine may have been behind last Friday's terrorist attack on a concert venue in the suburb of Moscow, which claimed the lives of 139 people and left around 200 injured, according to the head of Russia's Federal Security Service. Oh, I hear you, man. Yeah, it's absolutely getting worse. And it's like a snowball effect. It's just going to get really, really stupid fast. Says here, Alexander Bortnikov told reporters on Tuesday that the authorities are currently trying to establish the identity of everyone involved in the attack, both inside and outside Russia. When asked whether the U.S., Britain, and Ukraine could be behind the terrorist attack, the FSB chief responded, "We think that this is so. In any case, we're now talking about the information that we have. This is general information, but they also have concrete results." Bortnikov's statement to the media follows a meeting of the expanded board of Prosecutor General's Office of Russia. The FSB director told reporters that the intelligence service will do everything necessary to identify the direct organizers and sponsors of the terrorist attack. I mean, I'm still asking the question, why would ISIS-K just up and want to do this? I mean, you can't tell me that just naturally ISIS-K would be siding with Ukraine. That's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Anywho, just gonna run through these. I am sore and tired. I hear you, Friday. Man, I hear you. You can't get people to talk about wood gasification no matter what. And it's just like, I don't get what people are planning. And when I say people, I'm talking about the prepping community. I'm talking about the people that are supposed to have the answers to this stuff. And they won't even talk about it because it would take effort. It would take effort. It's mind-blowing to me. But they'll talk about how preppers can't be lazy and this or that. Man, it'd be a hard task to find a more mentally lazy group. It really would. Because you sit there and you show them the problem, and first of all, they don't even recognize it. They can't even see it or understand it. They can't even conceive that there is no way that by hand they're going to be able to plant, harvest, process enough food for people and livestock for an entire year by hand. They don't get it. They don't get it. Oh, well, I'll just let them out to the pasture and they'll just eat the grass and stuff out. Oh, you're going to do that during the winter too, huh? Nice. Okay. They don't even think about it. They're not even smart enough to think about it. And I'm the idiot. I don't get it. I don't get it. It makes no sense. If it's not something that they know about, then it doesn't matter. It's really crazy. Anyway. Yeah, it's so complicated. I mean, granted that you got to know a thing or two. I mean, you got to be somebody, at least to operate the system. You got to be somebody that at least can tell what a combustion engine is doing by sound. And I'll give it that. But there's a fair amount of people out there that can do that. And even if one can't do that, I'm sure they know somebody who can. And you would think they'd be like, hey, look, can you check into this? Let's see if we can get this built. Let's see if we can get this working. Oh, no, we throw it all out the window. Why? Oh, because we got 1,000 gallons of fuel there, and that's going to last for the entire rest of the apocalypse. Okay. Good luck with that. Anyway, while we're talking about morons, let's talk about Zelensky. Firing a security chief. Now, it's only a matter of time before some of these individuals that he snubs off is going to start talking. And when that happens, it's going to be very interesting. Aren't you over across the pond Friday? Or am I mistaken? Are you over in the UK? Or am I just thinking stuff that's wrong? And what kind of help do you need? Oh, you're in Tennessee. Oh, hell. What kind of help do you need? What do you need to know? I mean, it's pretty basic. You have to actually build an actual gasifier in order to be able to use, like, say, for a generator or something like that. And the reason why I put it like that is because you can make a cheesy, easy one just by throwing wood in an ammo can and having a flange connected to it with a, but that won't be good enough to power a combustion engine. Gosh. We'd have to have a discussion about what it is, where you're having issues and the understanding of how it works. Because, I mean, I literally can see in my head. I'm just one of those people. I can literally see in my head the operation of one. So it's not, even if I have issues with one, it wouldn't take me but a few moments to fix the issues. So here's the main points. You have to be able to get enough oxygen to the wood so they can burn hot enough to be able to produce the hydrogen. Now, to do that, the best way to do that is to literally pipe in the air right into where your grate is. Have you watched the Flash 001 USA's videos? If not, we've got a playlist, and that's not our videos, it's Flash's videos, but I've got a playlist up in my playlist section, and it's of a series of videos done by a guy that goes by the name of Flash001 USA. And he has the best system. Yeah, definitely go watch those videos. Let me get you a link to that playlist. And definitely watch those videos, because they will really tell you a lot as to how the system functions. And it's really not, I mean, and again, I have to watch saying that, because I understand things a lot easier than a lot of folks, and when it comes to that kind of stuff, and sometimes I have an issue, sometimes I just have an issue understanding that a lot of this stuff doesn't come natural to a lot of folks. So, and that's an issue that I do have. Okay, there you go. There's the playlist for Flash's videos, and check them out. See what it is that he's doing. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see where he's got the grate where it holds the wood at, and then you'll see where he's literally got, and I'm just going to call it pipes for lack of a better term, pipes that go down to where that burn chamber is. The important parts is, like I said, getting enough oxygen down there. Another important part is making sure that your tube, depending on the size of your outer containment chamber, making sure that your tube is the right size. You got to make sure that you get the proper amount of airflow in there, and you have to make sure that you can pull the proper amount of air through so you can get enough hydrogen to your combustion engine. So, again, his video is really, really good. I mean, really good. I would watch those, and then if you still have questions, if you still have issues with understanding how they work, ask me those specific things, and I can do a better job myself of pointing out what it is you need to look for, what it is you need to do. So, but absolutely, check those out, and then we can get a little bit more specific and nitty-gritty about what it is that you're having more issues understanding. So, let's see. But yeah, like I was saying, you know, Zelensky's going to fire enough people that these people are going to start talking. And it's going to get interesting when that happens. So now he's apparently wanting to fire, or he already did, fire the National Security and Defense, the head of the National Security and Defense Council. So, I don't know. This is another article. I've got 4 left. I'm going to kind of try to read through them. I'm, once again, tired. I'm just wore out. Day may come for EU troops in Ukraine, says Kiev. Says the conflict between Moscow and Kiev could reach a stage where EU countries have to deploy combat troops to Ukraine in order to counter Russian advances, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba has warned. In an interview with Politico on Monday, Kuleba complained about the decline in Western military aid for Kiev in recent months. Give us the damn Patriots, he said, referring to the U.S.-made air defense missile systems, which he insisted Kiev needs to target Russian jets that launch aerial-guided bombs. Moscow's increased reliance on these upgraded munitions is why Ukrainian troops are losing positions, the foreign minister claimed. Well, I don't know. I don't think the Patriots are going to help you a lot more when it comes to that. Do I think that we'll see EU troops on the ground? Yeah, I mean, to some extent, there already are. But as far as more direct engagement, yeah, because I think that's what the intent is. I don't see anybody that's really trying to de-escalate this. China reacts to UK's cyber sanctions. British claims about the alleged hacking of the UK Electoral Commission are false and groundless. the Chinese government said on Tuesday, responding to the announcement of sanctions against 2 of its nationals and a business in Wuhan. London announced the sanctions against Zhao Ganzhong of Ni Gaoben, and I'm way off, I guarantee, on those, as well as the Wuhan Jiaozi Science and Technology Company, Ltd., on Monday. According to the British government, they are linked to Advanced Persistent Threat Group 31, or APT 31, supposedly a state-affiliated hacker outfit blamed for 2 cyber attacks on British voting. Do I believe that? Not for a second. You know, it's the damnedest thing. Really, truly, it's the damnedest thing. Taiwan runs defense drills amid invasion warning. Says Taiwanese forces carried out air defense combat exercises on Tuesday in response to reports of increased military activity by Beijing's forces near the island, according to a statement published by Taiwan's Ministry of Defense. According to the Taiwanese Air Force, overall air defense combat plan exercises were carried out in the early hours of Tuesday morning and employed the use of domestically made Skybow and U.S.-made Patriot surface-to-air missiles. See, that's where your Patriots are. In conjunction with aircraft and Navy ships. Taiwanese command explained that the purpose of the drills was to inspect and verify the Joint Air Defense Combat Command and control of these 3 branches, and stated that it will continue holding such exercises to deal with potential threats. Okay, hold up here. So, like I've said the entire time, that Russia and Ukraine is like the big kid and the little kid, right? Not even remotely a fair fight. And in fact, in order to not have the international community up his butt, Putin has to be very reserved in how he goes after Ukraine. He can't just do a full force deployment and just go taking everything out. He could, but he can't, because it would look so bad that he wouldn't be able to save face whatsoever. China and Taiwan is even that much more of that same situation. The big kid and the little kid. Who are we kidding? The only way that Taiwan wouldn't be taken out by China would be if there was substantial military involvement by more than just the U.S. You would have to have multiple nations that were right there, right on time. I don't get it. I don't get it, and we're just going to get ourselves in a world of hurt. I mean, we already have, really. Cocoa prices to hit historic high. So this is crazy. Price of cocoa beans surged to an all-time high on Tuesday amid supply constraints in West Africa, which produces about 70% of the crop globally. Benchmark cocoa futures for May delivery on Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, in New York briefly spiked to $10,030 per metric ton in intraday trading before later easing to trade at around $9,625 per ton. It's the first time the commodity broke above the $10,000 mark. Prices skyrocketed more than 150% in the last 3 months and are up 255% since March of 2023. That means your Cocoa Puffs are going to be a lot more. Experts attribute the price spike to poor crops in West Africa, as the 2 largest producers, Cote d'Ivoire, or whatever, and Ghana, have been struggling for months with extreme weather changes and cocoa pod diseases. As these 2 leading producing countries supply about 2/3 of global cocoa beans, any change in their production tends to have a significant impact on the cocoa market. The International Cocoa Organization warned in a tweet, in a recent report, why'd I say tweet? Probably because they tweeted it. A significantly lower cocoa harvest is expected in other cocoa-producing countries such as Nigeria and Ghana. So expect higher prices for chocolate-related items. Anyway. Oh, man. I've got a power supply going. Well, I've already had a power supply go bad for my top monitor. I'm actually running it off of a underpowered power supply for a external hard drive. It's just 12 volt, but the original power supply was 2.5 amp. The one that's on it's 2 amp, and it's fine now. But when I first bring it up in the morning and stuff, or if the monitors go to sleep and I bring it up, sometimes it does a little blinky flashy thing, and it's because it's not getting proper power. So I gotta go dig around out in the shed and see if I've got a 12 volt power supply that's at least 2.5 amp. If not, I'm gonna yank the one out of the diesel heater, which is it's good for like 30 amps. That ought to power it. So crazy. And you look at the power supply it's got that claims to be 2.5 amp, and it's like, really? I'm still trying to figure out how that sucker's 2.5 amp when a 2 amp power supply is twice the size and 3 times the weight. Hang on. Got a headline to put out there, and that way it'll be up there when we're at the end. Okay. Let me do these headlines so I can get to bed. I don't know. Can't sleep well, and then, I don't know. A lot of stuff on my mind. So anyway, demographics is Russia's Achilles heel, says the Kremlin. Single EU army unrealistic, says Borrell. Pentagon's new Ukraine aid package was spent months ago, says Politico. New Zealand accuses China of hacking its parliament. UK farmers plow into central London. Russia responds to claims Islamic State behind Moscow terror attack. Another Moscow terror attack suspect arrested. Assange's wife issues fair trial warning ahead of UK extradition decision. EU admits it's working for US hegemony, says Moscow. Crocus terrorists were to be greeted as heroes in Ukraine, says the FSB chief. Russia captures German donated Martyr IFV in almost perfect condition. Let's see. Ukraine's top spy a legitimate target, says FSB chief. Let's see. Covered that. Russian diamond sanctions creating mayhem in the EU, says the Times. Very few Russians oppose Ukraine operations, says Kremlin. Yeah, probably not, because of what happened to them if they do. What UK High Court's decision in Julian Assange case means. Little explainer article. Russia targets Ukraine's decision-making centers, says Ministry of Defense. Republican mega-donors rally to save Trump, says Reuters. UK commits nearly $1 billion to nuclear program. Western-supplied missiles downed over Belgorod, says MOD, Ministry of Defense. Huge black market for Musk's Starlink, says Bloomberg. Trump platform dominates stock market debut. Let's see. Russia defying UN sanctions on North Korea, says Financial Times. Search and rescue work at Moscow terror attack site completed. That was a thing that Russia hosted. Russia rejects U.S. sea annexations. Austrian police reprimanded over Russian gifts, says AP. Trump tells Israel, it made a big mistake. I did a report on that earlier because I was such a bad guy last night for saying it. Putin calls for humanism and and mercy after Moscow terror attack. French MPs observe minutes silence for Moscow terror victims. Kremlin slams scum gloating about Moscow terror attack. Hamas making delusional demands, says Israel. Kremlin reveals conditions for talks with the U.S. And lastly, talk of new mobilization complete stupidity, says Shoigu. So, that's the news. I'm going to get the hell out of here because I'm just tired. I can't wait to lay my head on my pillow. So, anyway, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. I hope you all have a good evening. Hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming tonight. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.